Yeah, fit over forcing it is all about. This was really came out of my research on career misalignment, and it boils down to the person and job fit. So when we think about the roles that we take in our careers, a lot of times we're not looking at whether or not we are a good fit for the role. We often interview from a perspective of pick me, as opposed to I'm evaluating you just as much as you're evaluating me to see if we actually can work well together. And so taking that more uh, confident approach to where I, take my talents or where I spend my time or energy is always looking at, does this fit? Does this opportunity, does this relationship, does this job, does this whatever the fill in the blank, does it fit my values? Does it fit my personality, my strengths, my preferences? Is it complementary, as opposed to, am I just going to go into a situation and just make it work? Because when we put ourselves in situations where we have to make it work, where we have to force it, this is where we are exhausted. This is where we're unfulfilled. And typically, this is when we're not in alignment.
Welcome to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that have quietly shaped their lives, offering you daily doses of wisdom to reflect on and carry forward. Today's guest is Shannon Smith, a career strategist who spent years climbing a ladder that led nowhere she wanted to be. After hitting a wall that affected not just her work, but her relationships with her children, Shannon made a courageous pivot, creating a method to help others align their careers with who they truly are. Let's settle in and hear the quote that guided Shannon through her own transformation. Tell me, who you are and what your favorite quote is.
Yeah, so my name is Shannon Smith. I am a career alignment architect and staff development trainer. And I think my favorite quote is kind of a mantra that I have developed for myself, which is alignment over achievement, energy over exhaustion, and fit over force in it. And this just reminds me that in my pursuit of success, that it's not just about what I accomplish, but how I feel. And so I've learned over the years that if something feels right and it fits, it doesn't have to be forced. So that's a bit about me.
Yeah. When did you come to this realization?
Yeah, well, I think it's over just, living and working. I had reached a point in my life where I had gotten past the, survival mode of struggling and stuff like that. And I had gotten the job title that I had wanted. I started making the money that I wanted. I started to see that, I was getting these shining performance reviews, but none of it really felt like me. It felt like I was constantly forcing myself to fit in a mold that wasn't how I was originally designed. So after all those years of surviving and overcoming all the hurdles that comes with single parenting and struggle with poverty and all those things, I sat back in my car one night and I was just so exhausted from work and I felt so empty. And I had, I started to ask myself if there was more to life than this. And that question really led me to start seeking other ways of being and kind of helped me decide to shift to look for more fulfillment over just performing just for external measures of success.
Now you've answered how you came to the realization of this quote. Can you take us to the time? How long ago was this? Was this 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago?
Yeah, it actually started back in 2018.
Okay.
So
that's 7
what
years.
Is that, about 7 or 8 years ago?
Yeah.
7 years ago. I was in a job that it was causing a lot of stress and a lot of overwhelm, and it got to the point where my children started to notice that I was different. My daughter at the time was 10, and she's like, "Mommy, you're different. You're always angry. You're always mean." That really struck a chord, right? And here I was thinking that I was doing great because we weren't struggling anymore. We were at a better quality of life. We had moved to a new city and started over. And so all of these external things were great, but yet who I was at the core and my children's experience of me wasn't, because I wasn't internally fulfilled or really in a role that aligned with who I was and what I did best. I was just performing for the paycheck, and they were suffering for that. And so it took me about 3 or 4 years after that to do the work to get to a point where I now can live by that mantra of alignment over achievement, energy over exhaustion, and fit over forcing it.
Yeah, like the quote at first, even though it kind of makes sense, but I'd love to truly understand it. So when you say alignment over, okay, alignment over
achievement,
okay, alignment over achievement, what do you mean? What is this alignment of a thing? What's it all about?
Yeah, so the alignment thing for me is instead of working a role simply for, let's say, a paycheck, right? Like you get the role because it pays XY dollars. Alignment, taking an alignment lens would force you to ask more deeper questions, such as, does the role allow me to use my strengths? Does the role align with my internal values of integrity or autonomy or whatever your values may be? Does the role align with who you are aspiring to become, like your aspirations? So if the role meets those three criteria, then you know that you are going down a path that's going to fit you, as opposed to simply going for an opportunity because of money or a title, or because those metrics are typically empty and don't lead to lasting or sustainable fulfillment. So that's what I mean by alignment and why it's so very important to me now.
Okay. Everything is getting clear. So we'll move to the second branch of the quote.
Okay.
Now,
energy over exhaustion.
Okay.
Yeah. So the energy over exhaustion is where I have decided to prioritize doing things that are going to fuel me, as opposed to doing things because I want to prove my usefulness to others. And oftentimes I have found personally that in the past, I was so focused on getting external validation and those external pats on the backs or those verbal praises like, oh, you're the best and you do this and you do that, and just having everyone see me a certain way, that I would prioritize constantly overperforming and overextending myself so that I can continue to get that praise. And that would always lead to exhaustion, to the point in 2022, I was in the hospital for 4 days because of stress-related symptoms and exhaustion and burnout. And that's when I realized that I have to rethink things and no longer look to seek external validation, but prioritize the things that are going to fuel my energy, that are going to sustain me, that are going to help me over the long term, and not just seek to be seen in a certain light. So that's why it's energy over exhaustion.
Okay, so we move to the third branch.
Yeah, fit over forcing it is all about, this was really came out of my research on career misalignment, and it boils down to the person and job fit. So when we think about the roles that we take in our careers, a lot of times we're not looking at whether or not we are a good fit for the role. We often interview from a perspective of pick me, as opposed to I'm evaluating you just as much as you're evaluating me to see if we actually can work well together. And so taking that more confident approach to where I take my talents or where I spend my time or energy is always looking at, does this fit? Does this opportunity, does this relationship, does this job, does this whatever the fill in the blank, does it fit my values? Does it fit my personality, my strengths, my preferences? Is it complementary, as opposed to, am I just going to go into a situation and just make it work? Because when we put ourselves in situations where we have to make it work, where we have to force it, this is where we are exhausted. This is where we're unfulfilled. And typically this is when we're not in alignment. So that's how they kind of all go together.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So far you've had this quotes and I think I should I say quotes? It kind of sounds like three quotes, but they are three in one, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like a mantra than a quote. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So far you've had these quotes. Has it always been, subject to any form of misinterpretation? That you're like, nah, that's not what I'm saying. That's not exactly what it stands for. That's different.
No, I don't think it hasn't really been something that's been up for misinterpretation, because it's not something I share often. It's almost like an internal compass that I use to make decisions on places that I go, opportunities that I take, or decisions that I make. So it's not something this is actually the first time I've actually shared it with anyone publicly.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, you're
Wow.
special.
I'm special. I'm special. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's good. That's nice. Thank you for sharing this with us. We feel privileged.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The question I want to ask now is you've shared some of the personal choices you had to make, personal improvements you have to make, and some of the personal benefits you've had. Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join, or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation. Just from following this mantra. And for me, I want to see what you do and your personal, your professional life. So can you share with me some of the stories and some of the decisions and choices you've had to make using this mantra professionally, like work-wise?
Yeah, for sure. I actually am just in the final stages of a transition that this mantra has really become like an embodiment of. So I had been in this role for 5 years, where I was a senior trainer, and it was focused on technical training. And in the beginning stages, when I first started the role, it was new, it was exciting, it was something I had never done before. And so it felt like, and it was a really great opportunity for me to grow and step out of my comfort zone. And so over those 5 years, I had started doing public speaking because our company did annual conferences. So I was leading sessions, and that's something that I had never imagined myself doing, because growing up, I was always the shy and quiet one. And it was so bad. Like, my dad was a preacher, and he would often call me and my sisters up to sing, and I was always the one that hid under the pew. So I would never come up to the front. And so in my mind, I didn't have what it took to be this trainer that's standing on stages, that's presenting in front of all these people, but yet I wanted to push myself to do something that I didn't think was possible. So then fast forward, I'm in this role 5 years. I've facilitated these training sessions with hundreds of people. I've done annual conferences and facilitated in front of all these people. And so I had become this person I never thought I could be. And so I got to a point where I kind of reached the pinnacle of my growth there, right? And when I realized that I reached that pinnacle, I started to feel like this dissatisfaction, and I started to feel the exhaustion, where the work wasn't fueling me anymore. It was actually draining me. And so I started to ask myself, like, what's going on? And thankfully, with the help of mentors and therapists that give you those alternative perspectives, I was able to identify that I was out of alignment now. I had outgrown this role. It was no longer fueling me. It wasn't challenging me in the way that it did 5 years ago. So I decided, okay, alignment over achievement. It's not a matter of me staying in this role just for the sake of the check, just for the sake of having the job title, or just for the sake of going to these conferences and being a speaker. I need to figure out what would be next for me, so that I can have my energy back, so that I can feel like I'm not forcing myself to make this job work just because, I like having a paycheck. So I started to search. I got very clear on what exactly I was looking for. And the goal for me was to focus my work on more people development, leadership development, coaching. I wanted to have a role that had a combination of those things. And one of the things that my mentor had suggested was to put an actual date on my calendar of when I wanted to leave by. And at first I thought it was silly, but I went ahead and listened, and I put April 30th as the final date that I wanted to be out and into this new opportunity that would allow me to grow even further. So I set that intention, and I started, applying and doing the things that I needed to do. Lo and behold, I had applied for a role in February 27th to be exact. By March 4th, I had gotten a call to do a phone screen. And then so then the following week I had the virtual interview, and then the following week after that I had an in-person interview where I had to do a presentation, and that was really great. And so the very next day they offered me the role. And the role is everything that I had set out that I wanted. I wanted a role that would allow me to do training, but in the employee development context, a role that would allow me to do some coaching and also leadership development. And so it basically was everything I set the intention for. And now I can continue to live into my mantra in a new place. So I'll be starting a new role actually Monday. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Wow. So the story is actually unfolding while you're telling it. I thought it was like in the past.
Yes, it's unfolding. Yeah.
Congratulations on the new job.
Thank you. So it's really exciting. And yeah.
Wow. So when are we doing the after party for the new job you just got?
Yeah, this is actually the party is this weekend, so I'm hanging out with my family. Yeah.
Wow. So how am I going to get my drink?
Yeah, sorry. I'll think of you, and I'll cheers to the show while I'm.
So this how it's gonna be, right? Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean you're kind of far, so
You didn't even invite me. You said I'm kind of far.
Right. Well, I just, we just kind of like crossed paths. So, I didn't know this was going to happen today.
Okay. Congratulations. I'm really, really happy for you, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. It's when you're telling the story like this now, it sounds like fairy tale.
Yeah.
It sounds like fairy tale.
Yeah, but the thing is that I learned from my mentor is that setting intentions is really powerful. And at first I thought it was a little woo-woo, but now I'm a believer that setting intentions is absolutely essential for any change that you're trying to make, and getting very, very clear on what it is you're trying to achieve. Because for me, it's like when work is draining you, it's often hard to see that there's an option other than what you're dealing with. Sometimes you feel like the only way to get relief is just to quit and just abandon the role and figure it out from there. But I learned through this challenge and this transition that sometimes it's not a matter of burning it all down and starting over. It's a matter of taking a step back and seeing what small shifts you can make over time, and then take that time to get really clear on what it is you are looking for, so you don't make the same mistake. Because oftentimes in the past I have gotten to a point where I've outgrown a role and I felt frustrated and it no longer felt like a fit, and then I would just quit. But then I would take another role that was just like that, and the cycle continued. So this time around I didn't do that, and then taking the pause, listening to my mentor, setting the intention of exactly what I wanted, and then moving forward strategically helped me have a better outcome. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, because
to think about that.
you're talking about something fits. In order for you to know if something fits, you have to compare it to something you're trying,
Mm-hmm.
the master plan. And then it brings us back to the idea of knowing what we want. If you don't know what you want, you're not going to know if something fits you or not. You're just going to go with whatever comes your way.
Yes,
And that's not
for
the
sure.
attitude we want to have.
Yeah, and I think that happens a lot in the workforce. It's just,
Yeah, yeah,
oh, I have a terrible boss, I'm quitting, and then you go
yeah.
to another place and you have another
Same
terrible boss.
thing, yeah. And then we
Yeah.
start wondering, are you sure you have a terrible boss or are you sure you're the problem?
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, this
Yeah,
problem is
like
following you. So,
something is common. I'm seeing a pattern. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
okay. Over the course of the past 7 years now, has there been an instance where you've had to like, adapt, kind of like reinterpret the mantra for a specific context?
hmm Yeah, I think for me, the last 2 or 3 years of this particular role that I'm now leaving was where I did have to adapt it a bit because I wasn't able to leave right away. Right, I had responsibilities and things like that. And so while I was aware that it was no longer a fit, I had to still do things that I wasn't excited about. But I had to find little glimmers of, interest in those tasks to keep me on path until I could do something better. So I think that if someone is listening and they feel like, okay, I hate my job, but I can't quit tomorrow, the thing that has helped me is that you can still adapt your frame of mind on how you look at the job. It's like, let's say I am in a customer service job, but I want to do project management. So how can I reframe my perspective of my role as a customer service representative and see the little tasks that I do as mini projects? Now I've infused a little bit more of energy into what I'm doing until I'm able to make that big shift into a role that gives me the job title of project manager, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that helped me a lot in those last few months of recognizing that, okay, this no longer is working for me, and feeling the weight of that and the stress of that to still be able to perform well because I'm still looking at small aspects of my role as being a connector to what I wanted to do in the future. So that helps a lot. And it helps even in relationships too, when you've outgrown people and you don't want to just cut people off because that's not cool. People have feelings, but you know that, okay, I'm not I'm not where I used to be when I was friends with this person.
Yeah.
And we're not on the same page in life, but I'm not going to just say, hey, you're not good enough for me anymore. I'm just going to move on. But, you find the good things about that person that made you initially, befriend them, and then find ways to either help them grow along with you, or maybe you just spend less time with them, or maybe you're a little bit less available, and and then you move forward in that way. So all the time, those three phrases are the filters of my decisions. It's just that it, oftentimes is in different contexts. So, I might not quit a friend, but I might adjust the amount of time that I'm available to them because I don't want them to drain my energy or, what have you.
Yeah. This is me being just curious. What's the job title you got?
The new one?
Yeah, the one we're celebrating.
The new one? Yeah, the new one is a senior staff development trainer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's that's what we call the boss mommy of the department. Wow.
Yes.
You have a lot of persons under your care. Wow.
Yeah, it's a team of 7 people, so
That's a lot.
I'll be doing some mentorship and internal training within the team, and then it's probably work that'll be happening outside of the team as well. So
Wow.
it's gonna be really exciting.
So I'm trying to imagine having a family where you have like 7 kids. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I don't want to imagine that.
That's a lot. I did not say that your employees are your kids, so that they will not listen to this episode. That's not what we're saying. I'm just saying I am the one imagining it. she's not the one, so they don't go say,
Yeah,
she said
yeah.
ahead. For the record,
Um, Thank you for that
yeah,
clarification.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your mantra with us, and yeah, I feel
Yeah,
really privileged, and congratulations on your new job position.
thank you.
What are you working on now, and what can where can people learn about what you're working on and your stuff?
Yeah, if people want to connect with me, shannondsmith.com is the best way to get in contact. That the most recent project that I've recently launched is my new book. It's called the Align and Thrive Method, and it's just a guide to, well, not just a guide, but it's a powerful guide to really help you escape career burnout and
Okay,
misalignment. So,
wait. You are not doing you had this there was this energy you had when we were having this thing about the quotes. The moment we just started talking about the book, I don't know what happened. You just look as if sell this book to me, sell this book, like inspire me to want to check this book.
so the new project, or the most recent project that I'm working on, is my book, The Align and Thrive Method. And this book basically outlines the step-by-step process that I use to escape career burnout and misalignment and create a career that actually fits. So if you want to know the actual things that I did to get out of a job that wasn't a fit anymore and get into a role that I'm celebrating on the air, then this is definitely the book you want to get. It's available on Amazon. And it really is designed to help you do work that aligns with who you are and what you do best. And if you're listening, you'll also have access to the free career alignment crash course that is like a companion to help you get clear on what you need to do next as well. As a gift to the listeners, you'll have that for free.
You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.